Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe my channel. The medical textbook blurred before Alara's eyes. The words pathophysiology and differential diagnosis swimming into a gray soup of exhaustion. The library hummed with a sterile quiet, the air thick with the scent of old paper and anxiety. For weeks, her world had been these four walls, this relentless pursuit of a perfect grade, a perfect future. It felt less like learning and more like a slow, academic suffocation. A crumpled flyer, rescued from a campus bulletin board, lay on top of her notes. Isla de la Juventud, Coastal Ecology and Conservation, a 6-week field study program. It was the polar opposite of her pre-med track. It was also, she realized with a jolt, her only lifeline. Her advisor had been less than enthusiastic. Ilara, this is a distraction. Your MCAT timeline, your clinical hours. It's a different kind of clinical, she argued, the words feeling true as she spoke them. A study of a living system. 2 weeks later, she found herself not in a lecture hall, but knee-deep in the warm turquoise waters of a Mexican coastline, a waterproof notebook in her hand instead of a highlighter. Her classroom was a mangrove forest, a tangled, breathing labyrinth of roots that served as a nursery for countless marine species. Her research paper was no longer an abstract exercise. It was a daily log of salinity levels, fish counts, and the slow, miraculous regeneration of a coral reef. Her initial attempt to approach it like any other assignment had been comically futile. Sitting at a small desk in the open-air lab, she had tried to force her observations into the rigid 5-paragraph structure she knew so well. Introduction. The mangrove ecosystem is vital. It felt dead, a specimen of an idea pinned to the page. Frustrated, she took her notebook and waded back into the water. She watched a parrotfish scrape algae from a coral head, its vibrant scales catching the light. She noted how the roots of the red mangrove filtered the water, creating pockets of startling clarity. She saw the interplay, the connection. It wasn't a list of facts, it was a story. Back on the beach, sand clinging to her feet, she tore the first draft from her notebook. She started again, this time letting the environment guide her hand. The reef does not breathe in the language of textbooks, she wrote, the ink slightly smudged by the humid air. It speaks in the silent, patient work of the polyp, in the industrious grazing of the fish. To understand its health, one must learn to read the landscape, to diagnose not with a single test, but with 1,000 interconnected observations. She wrote about the resilience of the ecosystem, drawing a parallel to the human body's own complex systems of repair. She described the symptoms of a stressed coral, the bleaching, the algae overgrowth, not as disconnected phenomena, but as part of a whole. The 20-page requirement was no longer a daunting wall to scale. It was a horizon she was eager to explore. One evening, as the sun bled orange into the sea, she sat with Mateo, the local marine biologist leading the program. "Your work is changing," he observed, nodding toward her notebook. "It has a pulse now." Ilara looked out at the water. "I was trying to put the ocean in a box. Now I'm just trying to listen to it." She realized this wasn't a distraction from her goal of becoming a doctor. It was its foundation. She was learning diagnostics from the world's oldest physician. She was learning patience from the coral and resilience from the mangroves that stood firm against the tide. The pursuit of knowledge wasn't confined to sterile rooms. It was here, in the messy, beautiful, interconnected wild. Weeks later, back in the hushed library, the memory of the salt air felt like a secret strength. She opened a new document for a paper on systemic inflammatory response syndrome. But this time, her approach was different. She didn't just list the clinical signs. She wrote about the body as an ecosystem, where fever was a rising tide and leukocytosis was a mobilization of defenses. She wove a narrative of cause and effect, of balance and collapse. Her professor's feedback was a single scrawled note at the top of the return paper. An exceptionally insightful and holistic analysis. Your understanding of the subject's interconnectedness is remarkable. Ilar smiled, touching the faint grain of sand she'd never quite managed to brush from the seam of her backpack. The best education she had learned didn't always happen within four walls. Sometimes it was written with salt-stained fingers under a vast and teaching sky.